Hi, this is Spencer Brown, and I'm presenting for Module 5, Understanding My Community. For this module, I chose to reflect on the district that I was last a teacher in, where I was a high school math teacher and coach. I had a lot more awareness of how things affected the school there than I do in my current community that I've lived in for 3 years, but have not worked within the schools there. So, some factors or some customs and traditions that are important to note about the small town that I worked in. It was a very close knit town. It was a small town. It was very much family first. You're going to kind of see that theme throughout my presentation. But it was a very warm and comforting community. So, kind of a, I wouldn't say it was southern, but it kind of had that hospitality feel to it. Just warm individuals and just kind hearted people. It's a consolidated district, which becomes an interesting situation. If you've ever been a part of that, you understand what I'm talking about, because you have these small towns around that are trying to preserve their own culture, and it's difficult to do when a school gets shut down. And so that creates some conflicting impressions. I had parents upset after ball games and been told that I don't understand because I didn't come from a certain town that happened to be closed down, and or that the school happened to be closed down in. So just purely by consolidating some districts, that comes with some stigmas, or at least believed to be stigmas, about those towns that lost out on their school. The town is very much full of wildlife enthusiasts. You would find that land in this particular area goes very high, but not necessarily because people in the area are purchasing it. Anytime land is for sale, it often gets bought by people out of town that are looking for a retreat to do their own hunting or fishing. So this is an area, southeast Kansas, where you have your strip pits from the old strip mining. It's just excellent fishing, and then you have a great amount of wildlife. I really compare it to the Ozarks in terms of the nature there. So kind of to give you an idea of how great that life is there. When I was my first year teaching there, I was coaching junior high football, and I asked how many of my junior hires deer hunted. Every hand went up, and then I asked how many of them dressed their own deer, and I don't remember very many hands going down. So you're talking about people who just understand how to kind of survive in that wildlife atmosphere. So it also has very conservative values. There is a lot of small churches, which as I was doing my research, I was really surprised to see that the census data said that 71% reported no religious preference, because you're talking about a town of 600 and some odd people with 5 to 6 churches that have been around for a long time, and so just an odd conflict in data there. But anyways, the school is the largest employment in the town. But as we go a little further, you'll find that it's not the largest employer of the town people. So there's also long-lasting agriculture families in the area, and I would say just the overall kind of custom and tradition has a feeling of they just like consistency, and they like things to continue the way they are. So in terms of actual numbers, again, it's really interesting to kind of give you the idea of how many small towns and small areas around kind of pour into this school district. The town population is only 682 where the school sits. However, the district enrollment is 577. So the nearest town, or the biggest town that was consolidated, is really over half the size probably of that population. And so you see a lot of just really small towns that slowly have had to kind of shut down and consolidate. There's even been talk about creating district or county-wide schools, which would consolidate this district, which bounces back and forth from 2 to 3A, another 2A district, and a 4A district. I don't think that would ever actually happen, but it's always just something that gets discussed because consolidation is just a well-known action in the county. So, in terms of education levels, 97% of the community has high school diploma or higher, 20% has a bachelor's or higher, and then you see about 2% with a graduate degree. So earlier I mentioned that the school is the highest employer in the town. However, it's not the highest. Education is not the highest field of employment because the majority of the town commutes to work. So you're talking about the average commute time is 19.4 minutes. We happen to be about 40 minutes south of Overland Park area, so you have lots of people who will commute up that direction for work. The unemployment rate is 5.4%. The age of the district goes from pre-K to 12, with while the split in terms of male and female is really close within the town. It's 339 to 343 male to female. The split within the school is almost identical. It's 52% male. The town is 95% white, and in terms of school data, we have 59% economically disadvantaged, so about 10 percentage points higher than the state average there. The other interesting piece to note in terms of just the population of the district is the staff experience is kind of on both extremes. So you have individuals who have just been there for a really long time, their whole teaching career, and typically grew up near the area and kind of came home, all the way down. You have lots of staff who will be there for maybe they're right out of college and they'll be there for around 3 to 5 years before they move on to closer back to home. So in terms of communication, probably the most effective communication that was used was the text alerts, and they created consistent one-way communication. There really isn't a public radio or TV station, and there is a local newspaper, but I could not say that it's read very frequently. So the town really kind of relies on those Kansas City area news programs to get the majority of their news. The census said that only 5 residents are foreign born. However, from teaching there, I know that I did have one particular family that I would have letters home translated into Spanish. So there is an EL Spanish-speaking population in the district. So the community groups that have impacts in the district, the first one is this Churches United. Earlier you heard me say that there's a lot of churches. There's a group called Churches United that come together and just try to do great things for the community. And this group really does some tremendous outreach events just to empower the community. PTA group is strong in the elementary school. I actually put the parents of athletes as kind of a community group. In a small district like this, they are almost their own group, and so they really come together and help support the teams and rally to get to the games and things. There's a little thriving youth groups within the town. There's obviously the city council and mayor, which are typically conservative, which I have some stats on here in a little bit. There's a surprisingly large amount of scholarships provided through private donations. You just have a lot of people who really care about the well-being of the students and want to invest in them. Local businesses are always really willing to help out on any school endeavors that they'd be asked to, sponsor different things. And I can't say that there were really any problem groups. In terms of leadership, the largest systemic influence is the Board of Education. And the Board of Education, because it's such a small town, they get information from all levels. So while certainly they're going to get information from your typical revenues through superintendent and administrators, they're also going to have Friday night events with individuals and teachers who know who they are and going to come up and voice their opinion. And that at times has caused a little bit of conflict within or turmoil within the district. However, I would say the largest student influence is certainly the parents. It's a very close-knit family community, and students really value what the parents value. So the Board of Education definitely prefers to manage on all levels. They've manage all the way from the lowest level to the highest. And so they like to have a very active role within the district. They do have a heart for the students, so they're very quick to defend students when they feel like they need to, and are largely supportive of the students. They're known by the community and accessible, quick to listen and happy to speak up. And one particular thing about this board is they're always unified in their voice, which I do appreciate that. So when they make decisions, they do make decisions as a group. In terms of economic conditions, the town, like I said, is very conservative. In fact, 78% voted Republican in 2016, and the lowest vote that's been Republican is 59%, and that's in 96. Within the community, like I said, education is the largest employer. However, because so many are commuting, the largest employership actually lies in construction, and 11% in management. The median household income is $40,098, which is about a little over $10,000 under the state average. The median home value is $87,000, also under the state average by quite a bit there. And the median rent is $662. Politics, although they're heavily conservative, they don't play a large role in the decisions made within the school. However, being from Kansas, I would be remiss not to note that the politics of the state certainly affect funding and have dramatic impacts on the decisions that are able to be made at the school level. So the social tensions, like I talked about before, is just the idea of preserving those individual cultures from the towns that got consolidated. This typically lies with the adults, and the students, for the most part, do get along very well, and you wouldn't notice any tension there. There is small town conflict within the community, but rarely are there polarizing effects. Like I said before, the power structures in the district are certainly with the family. Students rarely go far because they want to stay close to their family. So you see a lot of kids go to Neosho County or anywhere within an hour of home, and oftentimes they return home looking for work if they do graduate. And if they don't, then they typically come home and work on some sort of family business as well. So family preservation is held in the highest regard. It's really the ultimate factor of value there in the community. So cultures are diverse in the district based on economic status. There's not a lot of racial diversity or even cultural diversity. You're talking about largely a population of white students who come from rural background. However, obviously there's some cultural rules that come with varying economic status. So making sure that we leverage ideas like financial literacy and social emotional competencies so that students have the opportunity to really learn about how to better their own life as they move forward, as opposed to maybe just following the rules that the families always follow. So to leverage those power structures, we need to make sure we're transparent about a student-centered environment. We want to not just inform parents, but empower them, help them set goals for their students and share data with them to say, hey, where do we need to get your students? What's important to you? And the board always needs to see from the student level the value in what's going on. There is a site council established to measure public opinion, and PTA is always vocal in decisions. However, informal analysis would just simply say that public opinion varies on how close they are to certain children and how those children are performing. So that typically has less to do with how they're doing on state assessment, but a lot more about, and other tests, but a lot more about just what are their grades and are they set to graduate. So I have not seen a public opinion survey administered in my time there, but I think it could be really valuable, and it could help the community see that they have the opportunity to foster change within our walls. I could guide IPS for local industry, and obviously it would be a great practice of transparency for the district. Thank you.